Boyd and become the Renner. Are we still good?
You're good.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. It was talking to me. But I'm fortunate enough to become the next vice chair of Economic Matters. And so Southern Maryland is well represented on an extremely prestigious committee in Annapolis. And we will have a very large say on what happens in a myriad of topics, but mostly the economy and what happens going forward for the entire state of Maryland. And the subcommittees underneath, the only two I think that I've ever really talked about here are the two that I am actually on. It shouldn't have an asterisk next to workers' compensation, but I am on the Banking, Consumer Protection and Commercial Law Subcommittee, as well as the Property and Casualty Insurance Subcommittee heading into next session. So here's some of the other major changes that took place really within the last 3 months for Annapolis. So it is a major shakeup, and I'm sure that the state legislature will look and feel much different this year than it has in quite some time. Obviously, last session was Speaker Jones, Adrienne Jones from Baltimore County. It was her first session, and she has got a full year, more than that, almost 2 full years into her role. And I think that we are now seeing, as people have moved on and taken other positions and transitioned out of the House, her really getting to put her fingerprint on what her legacy is and what her house is going to look like. And like I already mentioned, I'm humbled to be a part of it, but I'm also extremely excited that she really cares about Southern Maryland as a whole. She's been down this way numerous times, and we just had her back in September. And she toured the base, toured the airport, and did several other events in our area. And it's good for her to actually see, touch, and talk to people from our community. So she knows the impacts of some of the policies when we decide them in Annapolis. Other major changes. The first is Delegate Ann Kaiser is stepped down. She took another role, and Delegate Vanessa, or Chairwoman Vanessa Atterbury, is now the chair of Ways and Means, and they deal with all the tax collection and tax policy. Just the tax policy. The treasurer deals with tax collection, but the tax policy for the state of Maryland. For the Judiciary Committee, Delegate David Moon backfilled Delegate Atterbury as she moved into that role. We've already talked about Economic Matters. And then I think one that I don't want to say it's not flying under the radar by any stretch of the imagination, but it is certainly a monumental change for anybody who has been in and around state government. And that's Alex Hughes is going to move on. She still is until December 31st, the chief of staff for the speaker. And she's been very good to me, offered incredible advice, and has really been a leader within the House since she took the position, I believe, in 2015. And it is a loss for not just the House, but for the entire state. That we're super thankful for her service. While we're all forever indebted to her, certainly I am as well, because she's been very good to me, and I know that she's been good to us in St. Mary's. So I just want to say thank you to her. Okay, so coming up, the bills that we plan to propose. So right now we have filed 5 bills, and they're up there on the screen. I'll kind of walk through them quickly. I will probably talk more about the 4th one just today in a second here. We do have another 5 that are in drafting, but we haven't completely made the commitment whether or not we're going to move forward on those. I know one that, we have made the determination, and it's the same bill from a few years ago. It was the indecent exposure bill for minors. So that one doubles the penalty. And many of you have heard my own some of the testimony and my previous conversations about that. But right now, if you are convicted of indecent exposure to a minor, you're not even required to give up your security clearance. And that to me is a little head scratching. So we're going to double that penalty, increase the penalty, and then ultimately, it would trigger some federal policies that would ultimately close a loophole so that individual would lose his or her clearance if that were the case. But going top to bottom here, starting with a category many of you know are extremely important to me, which is veterans or active duty. Obviously, I represent Pax River, but I also come from a military background, and I served 5 years on active duty and another 5 years here in the Maryland National Guard. And I have 3 deployments. So it is just something that is near and dear to my heart. And we always try to put together a package that is pro-veteran or pro-military. So the first one is health occupations. And this is something that I ran into quite a bit when I was on active duty. And what happens is anytime an active duty member moves, his or her spouse moves with them. And if they have a license, let's just say we'll pick Pennsylvania, that license doesn't transfer into the state of Maryland necessarily. And so that spouse then has to go through maybe courses or take another test and apply. And that could take a full-blown year for that individual to get authorization to work in the state of Maryland. Doesn't even guarantee them employment. It just basically gives them a piece of paper saying they can do this. What we're trying to do, and we've done this in several other capacities, I never realized how many different licensing boards there are. Just it's mind-blowing in the state. And we have passed similar bills in previous sessions to make sure spouses in other industries could have their license from California come into Maryland so long as their spouse was active duty. But now we're gonna go after it in terms of the health profession. And so health occupations, if you're a spouse of an active duty service member, then what this bill would do is we would honor an out-of-state license so long as you can demonstrate that your spouse, which would just be, or spouse is an active duty member, which would simply just be a marriage license and there's a couple different things, a CAT card, orders, et cetera. There's certain documentation that the military issues to let individuals know that you are truly on active duty. And then what that would do is you would come in day one and you could apply early for the license. And when you move here, you could already have your license. So that way you can begin to participate in the economy. And the biggest one to me that jumps out are nurses. I know so many spouses of military members that are nurses, and in the middle of a pandemic, when we need more health occupations, we need more health professionals, and in an occupation that is in dire need to fill their jobs, it seems to me that this is a good fit, and it is a good fit for the military because now you have a 2-income household. The other spouse is able to work and contribute and have purpose. And there's just a lot of runoff benefits overall from a family structure from that. So hopefully this bill will be at the top of our list, and I'm hopeful that it will pass. The second is a military installations. It's listed under expansions and development, but the real purpose of it is to create a general obligation bond fund that military installations can apply for. So Pax River, for example, if they had projects that were important to their community, they could apply for those bonds, and it is an extra revenue stream or pot of money that they could go into or tap into to get some of those projects done. The one that jumps off the paper at me is the YMCA. That would have great benefit to our community and our installation. And, I know that the base leadership has been on board with this and has testified in favor of it and has made it a priority, and they've gone after some other funds for that effort. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten them yet, or they were not able to obtain them, but they're still trying. And so I'd like to give them another avenue. But there's other projects that we could go after because we're always in a constant state in the best position so that we aren't hit by Bracken. Doing these, hey, Ryan, can you hear me? I'm getting an unstable internet connection. I just want to confirm.
Yeah, you broke up for like just a second, but then it seems fine now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but we want to be postured in the best position so that in the end, Pax River is luring other government positions and we're not losing them to other areas. The third one on the list here is the property tax exemption for disabled veterans. Many of you know, a few years ago, I got a bill passed where it increased the brackets for disabled veterans. So right now, the way it is set up is that if you are 100% disabled, you can apply for a property tax exemption. We gave the bill that I previously passed, gave counties the ability to create these brackets. Unfortunately, St. Mary's County still hasn't enacted that, but I do think that that would be a great thing for our citizens who have served in uniform, and they have some wear and tear on their body through really no fault of their own, but just the profession in general. It is a way to say thank you. And so the one thing now that I'm trying to do on top of that is to take the property tax exemption from 100% down to 80%. So it would really cut into the top bracket that I kind of created before, but it would increase the full exemption to anybody who has an 80% disability rating or above from the VA. And like I said, I think that it would be a great thing, especially for those who have done their 20 years or more. It helps retain people here in the state so that they don't move to a different region to take a contracting job at another installation or for retirees. It's just a way to keep them, one way to lure them to stay here closer to their families so they're not moving away. And it's a much bigger picture. Okay, so the fourth one here is kind of, so it is not a secret that inflation is kind of hitting the highest levels we've seen in 40 years. And one thing that we want to do is try to make the burden easier for families that are just getting started up, but B, really, those who are struggling, working, and their income levels don't necessarily meet the same rise of inflation. And one way to do that, we're going to put together a package. I am going to work with Delegate Dana Jones from Anne Arundel County, who is probably very similar, or at least aligned to me politically. We're going to put together a host of bills. And the first one is exempting diapers from taxes, from state sales tax. I think that this would be an extraordinary benefit, but I just kind of find it shocking that how do we tax something that is an absolute necessity? I struggle to wrap my head around that. I have put that bill in, but she also put the bill in, so we're going to work together and figure out how that looks. But there's also going to be two other components to this. We are going to exempt car seats as well as bottles. Two other things that I think are, I mean, I don't know how you have a kid and don't have a car seat or aren't going to need bottles at some point in time. So it just is silly to me that in a time where so many people are struggling, we would tax that and increase its price. Frankly, it should have probably been done a long time ago. But nonetheless, we're bringing that forward, those three items forward in this next session, and I'm confident that we can get them out of the House. Now, the last one, I know I get more text messages and jokes about this. This is probably the only thing I'm like personally invested in. All these other ideas I talked to so many people in the community. They ask me to bring many of those initiatives forward, but the war on permanent daylight savings time or standard time or changing my clocks, as I like to say, it will continue. So last year we passed the bill. It basically said we would go to permanent daylight savings time, which seems to be the national trend. Completely honest here, I'm agnostic. I don't really care if we go to standard time or daylight savings time, just as long as you stop messing with my clock. I would be very, very happy. And what it says is if all the other surrounding states do it, because we don't want to be in a different position economically than West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Delaware, then it would automatically be enacted. And, it's not far-fetched that those other states would do it because, frankly, more than half of those had bills last year proposed. And across the country, 4 years ago, I don't know if this is just like the group, we should have all probably ran on this issue. But 4 years ago when we came in, there was like 6 people or 6 states that even had anything proposed. And then 2, Hawaii and Arizona, that were on permanent. They didn't change their clocks at all. And now, last year, there were 36 states with this proposed. Several of them got it through. I got it out of the House. It didn't get out of the Senate, but I'm hopeful that this year it does. And, I know that I always joke about it, and I know I always laugh and say, just stop touching my clock. Okay. But there are real health impacts to doing this. The week after clocks change, both ways, by the way, because some people are like, no, I like my extra hour. Okay, but the data doesn't say that. The data shows that car accidents, strokes, miscarriages, heart attacks, trying to just get your kids out of school is more challenging. And all of those other health factors, they are the highest week or weeks of the year that those go up because of this. So it's just kind of crazy to me that like we arbitrarily decide we're going to change 1 hour. And I get why we do it. It benefits us in the winter months, but we change it, and then your internal clock, it takes a month to catch up, to then just go ahead 5 months later and do it again. So that will be back. That one is personal to me. And I am hopeful that this year we get it through the Senate. On the initiatives, I know that we, each and every year we've put forward, and I'll touch on this on the last slide, but each and every year we've put forward bond initiatives, which are essentially community initiatives that I can go after funding at the state level to make sure that those initiatives are accomplished. Last year, we got $500,000 for the Ridge Volunteer Fire Department for a new boat, which is, that was desperately needed. And I can't thank you enough to all the volunteers down there. We also got another $100,000 for the Pax River Naval Air Museum. A couple years ago, we got $100,000 for the Three Notch Theater, which I know so many of you enjoy the arts. And so these are really important projects that people from the community, bring to us. This year's theme, we're going to focus predominantly around hunger and those in need. And so the 2 big ones, the first one is Farming for Hunger. If you have not been to Farming for Hunger in Calvert County, it is by Bernie Fowler, which I'll just take a quick pause here to say, send my condolences to Bernie. Bernie's father was former state senator and really a champion for the Chesapeake Bay. And he is a legend. He was a public servant through and through. And an incredible human being. And I got an opportunity a couple of years ago to do the wade-in. It's where you walk into the Chesapeake Bay. You see how far you can get before you can no longer see your white sneakers. And he would always wear these brand new white sneakers. And from his efforts, we could continually get farther and farther and farther out. And so we got to continue that work. But Bernie Jr., now is running Farming for Hunger, which is an amazing facility in Calvert, like I said. And what they do is there is a farming component to it, but they also run classes. And those classes are taught by current incarcerated individuals. And he has set up basically a work program with the Department of Corrections, and he brings inmates in each and every day, and they get the opportunity to work on the farm and interact with people. And it really changes, a lot of people's lives, and it makes a huge difference. I've been through the program twice. I've been in the farm a dozen times, and to be able to bring an asset like that to St. Mary's would be incredible. Additionally, all the food that they grow on the farm, they work with the Maryland Food Bank to help feed the poor. And so that ties into my second bond initiative, which will be St. Mary's Caring. And that's really funding for a new space so they can seat more individuals in the soup kitchen. I think it is something like, when I talked to Christine 2 weeks ago, maybe it was less than that, probably a week ago. They had served over 105,000 meals this year. It just completely blows me away. I've been in the facility several times. It's been absolutely, amazing to just see the interaction that takes place between the people who are volunteering, those in the community that are in need, and what really an incredible resource for us. When the school system shut down and they weren't sure how they were getting meals out, St. Mary's Caring within 2 days had a plan and started to execute on the third day of how they were going to provide meals to the community. And that's pretty incredible. And then the last one, well, to be clear, for Farming for Hunger and St. Mary's Caring, we're going to both of those each, we're talking a substantial amount of money that I think would really benefit the community in need. And then the last one is the St. Mary's County Mobile Library. And one of the major things, so this bond will only be, I shouldn't say, this bond will be, I think the thing that really attracted me to this is the fact that it has roaming Wi-Fi and workstations, so that people who are near that library, near the mobile library, can log on and they can apply for jobs, or if you need a student who needs to get done homework, they're going to set it up in certain areas, and it pumps out a pretty good Wi-Fi signal, and so students would be able to log on. Maybe they need to download an assignment for the following day, but it's just trying to increase access to Wi-Fi, as so many people in this county know. And clearly, apparently, I'm breaking up even on this call alone, or my Wi-Fi is in and out. There is a digital divide, and we have to do more to bridge that. And I think that this is an innovative way to do so, because in a 21st century economy, most jobs are applied for online, whether that's through LinkedIn or Indeed, or right on the company's website. That's how most people are applying. We're not going and filling out paper ballots anymore, or paper applications. So it's extremely important. I know they have some of the funding. We're going to try to help him get the rest. And I've made that my commitment for the upcoming session. So we'll get all three of those drafted, and we'll take care of that and keep you updated as we continue to go through session. Okay, this brings me to, I don't know, how should I phrase this? Sorry, the freezes anytime I get a comment. So this brings me to something that I try to promote, and I hope each and every one of you who are in my district will help me promote, which is the delegate scholarship. We get a significant amount of money each and every year. And if you are attending a Maryland trade school, a Maryland college, or pursuing a certificate or a license, and live in District 29B, which is what I represent, we encourage you to apply. I am always shocked how few kids or individuals in the community actually ever apply for this. I have set up a scholarship committee And I don't personally get involved in the awards. We have a committee that does that. Each year they review the applications and then they rank them in a order of merit list. And then we decide, or they decide, who is, group number one, group number two, group number three, or however that looks. And then need is also factored into that. And then we find out what the total amount of funds that we have available. I think last year it was like $42,000. And then we award that. And I don't keep anything in the bank. It's not going to the grave with me. And each and every year it has been about that much money. So I encourage you, if you know of anybody who is a senior or is in college, maybe last year they had it because it's only a 1-year award, to go ahead and scan that QR code. And then we've done a Google form, so it's super easy. And having been a high school student, and I was going to say not that long ago, but I just had a birthday, so it's getting further and further from that each and every day. I know kids don't like doing essays and all sorts of other stuff, so I've tried to make it about as easy as I can for a high school student to do this. So I encourage you, if you know anybody, please share it, whether, share it with the family or share it on social media. But we would like to really up the amount of kids that apply for the award. And it would mean a great deal to me. All right, with that, these are kind of the state investments that we have gotten into the county. Many of you have heard me talk about this, I don't know at this point, an exhaustive amount of times. But it is important to remind you that 4 years ago, we didn't get anything. And, these are initiatives that we have been able to fund since taking office. And I think that is important for you because I promised each and every one of you during a debate that I thought part of the problem was, people in St. Mary's County feel as if their tax dollars go to Annapolis and they don't see the return on the investment. And this is your return. Specifically, on this list is the $87 million for the Southern Maryland higher education since the Thomas Johnson Bridge. It's a major deal, and it primes the pump for all the other expansion that we've done out in the airport, which is the fastest growing portion of our economy. So I'm going to leave this up here, and we'll start getting to getting to some of the questions here. Let me pull that up.
I can just ask them to you if you want, or you want to use.
No, I got them up here, Ren. I see.
All right.
I'll just kind of take them in order here. So what is the status of the broadband access of 29B, specifically Holly Drive in Scotland? Jocelyn, I know you asked this question, so we can talk about that if you want to give me a call. A couple years ago, my first year in session, we looked at ways to close the digital divide. One of the biggest things that we did, it was illegal at the time, I shouldn't say that. It was prohibited previously, is that your energy company couldn't lease its fiber optic for internet. And just in doing that alone, if you have SMECO, and I'm not 100% sure about Holly Drive, but I would imagine you do. If you have a meter there that is on fiber optic, I can follow up, because SMECO has, they're not there yet, but in the near future, they are exploring eventually setting up the ability to lease out their fiber optic to internet service providers. And that is an easy way to close the digital divide, certainly because you would already have Lightspeed running right into almost every home in Southern Maryland. Why? Because your energy is a utility, and therefore everybody has to have it, and it's mandated, unlike the internet. And to be honest, I know people talk a lot about other things surrounding the internet becoming a utility, but the truth of the matter is, without going down that rabbit hole, how are you supposed to compete in the 21st century economy, or even go to school, or even just hang out at your house, without the internet. I mean, I know more people today don't even have cable. They just have streaming services. So if you want to watch a movie on Netflix with the family, you got to have internet. I mean, it is completely changed. The game is totally different than it was certainly 20 years ago, but even 5. I mean, this thing is changing quickly. I don't remember having so many streaming services in my entire life as I've been signed up for in the last certainly 2 years since COVID started. But we can reach out. I'll have Hunter reach out, and then I can also follow up as well. Diaper tax exemption cover. Okay, so John asks, will the diaper tax exemption only cover baby diapers, or will it cover adult diapers as well? John, that's a great question. We actually had a brief conversation about that this morning. The way I proposed the bill, it would have only covered baby diapers. So we need to, I will revisit that. We have to get an updated fiscal note to examine that. But I recognize that that is another part of this, part of the equation, excuse me. The real thought process and impetus behind it for me is thinking about, struggling families, struggling, young moms or families who are just getting started. But it is a valid point, and I will make sure I bring that up when I have further dialogue about that on Monday. And then from Tony, he asks, have I decided whether or not I will reintroduce House Bill 655? And, Tony, I'll be honest with you, as well as everybody else, I am not sure at the moment. There have still been many ongoing conversations, and the real sticking point here comes with Senate President Bill Ferguson. And he was the one that stated if nothing was done, he'll do it next year. It does not seem at the moment that, we have figured out a resolution. And I'll be honest, I don't know that I propose it unless I was confident that we could get this thing through. So, I don't know where that stands. I know that I've been accused of being disingenuous. Like that is all I know at the moment, and I'm sharing it with everybody else. I haven't come to that conclusion yet, and I don't think that the conversations are over at the moment either. So, as soon as we know, we will put it out. It is also, I know earlier I talked about the 5 bills that I had proposed or had drafted and had already pre-filed. And I also mentioned that I had 5 others in drafting. That is not one of them. So I'm not 100% sure if that answers your question, but that is where we are at the very moment. So as soon as there is a decision one way or the other, and it's final, I will make sure we post, call, text. I'll make sure I personally get in contact with you since you asked the question, but we'll make sure we put the information out. But at the moment, I'm not 110% sure or 100% sure what we're going to do. Is that it, Ren?
That is all I see. We do have one question asking that just came in to you and me in the chat, asking about if there's anything that the community can do to support 655. And I think that is something that we can kind of talk about offline, and maybe here, I'll just turn my video off so I'm not some voice coming out of the void.
All right.
Talk about offline and put out to people if it seems like the community could help. We'll definitely be letting people know, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is, I don't know who made the comment. It's a great comment. And I think that we there are certain, we can engage with the community to tell them if there's anything that we need them to do. At the moment, though, I'm not 100% sure if there's really anything anybody can do, myself included, outside of continue to take the meetings, continue to push the dialogue, and try to move the needle forward. in that regard. But right now, it is not in the House. It is on the Senate. And that is not something anybody, including myself, wants to hear. I understand that. But I can only influence so much, and my sphere of influence is much greater on the House side. I mean, that's just kind of the way it goes. Okay.
There's one more that I just put in there for you.
Okay. Hold on, I hit it. Well, not the question, but the actual document. All right. What are your thoughts on redistricting and how it's done? So I think that there are a myriad of ways to answer this, or topics, and I think it depends on which level. But I think from a broader perspective, I'll just tackle anti-gerrymandering. And frankly, I know it sounds cliche, but it is absolutely true. Like, you should be picking your representative. I, as a politician, should not be picking you. And it happens at every level, in almost every state, and it's wrong. And we know it's wrong. I can tell you, I think that one of the easiest solutions right now is if the Senate, now the federal Senate, I know it seems to be like a common theme here, would pass HR 1, which would establish nonpartisan or bipartisan redistricting forums. In my opinion, and this is just one person thinking about it, I would probably take it a step further and say the technology exists. Let the computers draw the district lines. Start with drawing as many competitive districts as humanly possible. So let it be more challenging for more people. And then have a nonpartisan board on top of that be able to alter those boundaries within a certain percentage point to kind of keep communities of interest, or maybe certain voting precincts. You saw that play out at the local level, together. But they can only move the boundary so much, right? You got to think about redistricting like a balloon. You squeeze it on one end, it's got to come out the other, right? So there's so much you can adjust. But yeah, I think that, in my opinion, that is how it should be done. Like, the technology exists. We should probably settle on like 2 or 3 algorithms, whatever that is, and then let those nonpartisan boards across the country establish what those lines look like, for each and every level. Like, it should be nonpartisan at the county level, at the state level, and at the federal level. All 3 of them should be nonpartisan, and that way it is removed. So, I know that the county process. First off, I want to commend a lot of people who went out, spoke up, and it wasn't just Democrats; it was both sides of the aisle. It was people who were part of certain communities that just wanted to stay with that community and thought that they should be represented by the same county commissioner as the guy across the street or the girl up the road. I applaud each and every one of you for coming out, using your voices, partaking in the entire process. And then, I think that we kind of always get focused so much around the negative of what the process looks like. And certainly at the county, it was not shy of fireworks. It's some of the best 30 minutes of television maybe ever. But I think in the end, the Pat Richardsons, and the group that was with her, Matt Bergen, look, I don't, obviously a huge to-do was made about Republicans picking Republicans, and obviously I'm on the other side of the aisle here, but I think, cooler heads prevailed, and the 3 individuals who supported the final map really did their homework, took their time, and it's never an easy position to be in the public spotlight, and whether or not the process should change, which I do think it should change overall, I think that those individuals were fair and balanced, and took a lot of thought, a lot of consideration, and put in the time. And personally, I would like to thank them for that. All right. Oh, we got another one, Ren. Okay. Do you have an opinion on the development in Lexington Park, the Tulagi place getting turned into a Royal Farms? To be honest, I don't have any authority over that. So that is, more of a county question. But I can tell you, the one thing I do like is going into Linda's for breakfast occasionally, or grabbing coffee there, or during the pandemic we were getting takeout, and I think that there should be some priority given. We always talk about like small business Saturday when it's convenient, but there should be an investment in small businesses and a priority made at the county level for small businesses all the time. And she has been there and a staple in this community. She's probably the hardest working lady in the whole community, maybe ever. And so, while I don't have any authority over it, I certainly have a soft spot in my heart for Linda's. And I think we all do. So with that, I don't have any other questions on my screen. Ren, do we have anything else?
Not that I am
Tied up,
seeing.
7:45, people can get. Okay. Well, I want to wish everybody a happy holiday. I know some of you have already celebrated Hanukkah. I hope you enjoyed your holiday. Some of you have Christmas coming up, myself included. Merry Christmas. Or if you celebrate a different holiday, I hope you enjoy that with your family. Be safe. There are plenty of opportunities to get either your first COVID shot or your booster shot. And as we see some of the data spike, I just encourage each and every one of you to go out there, get your vaccination, and practice or be safe over these holidays. And hopefully we come out the other side of this in a little bit of a better position. So I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. If you have anything else, you can reach out to the office, any other questions or comments or any ideas, please feel free to reach out to us. As I stated in the beginning, Brandon has, maybe I didn't state this. Ren, did I talk about this real quick? Brandon and Sean now?
No, I don't think you did yet.
Okay. So last little tidbit here. And I apologize. You should have never done this at the end. Obviously, Ren is the go-to and she keeps me in order. But as so many of you know, this is not an individual effort. And it requires a very good and talented team to provide effective government and representation at any level. And so many of you have become familiar with Brandon. I've known Brandon. He was a rock star. He helped me on the first campaign, was knocking doors. And then we just kind of got lucky and he fell into the role and we brought him on. We all grew. Or we grew together. Brandon has since moved on. He's with Katie Fry Hester, and now it is Hunter Marsh, who we are super excited for. He actually went to PAX, Patuxent High School, where the Heislers helped educate him. They did all they could. Wasn't enough. No, Hunter's been absolutely fantastic, and we are so excited to have him join the team. And he's a College Park grad, Calvert kid, so he's familiar with the area. And then the second one is everybody is aware that Sean and I have been best friends now for, I'm probably going to throw up as I say this, almost 10 years. I can't believe I've known him that long, since we were two bald-headed privates in the Army. But he has moved on. And now we're super excited to have a staple in the community, Anne-Marie Daly, take over as the treasurer and become part of the team. She's raised her kids here. Her husband works on base. Many of you know her from the charter school or other, well, I won't get into the kids, but we're super happy and excited to have her be part of the team. And I couldn't just be more proud, of the entire team across the board for all their work, for what they do, whether it's unemployment claims, putting together these town halls, answering constituent questions, or more likely than not, yelling at me about something I didn't do. They're incredible. And you should all be proud of that as constituents, and be thankful that people, for positions, each and every day wake up and try to make all of your lives better. It means a lot to me, and it should mean a lot to you. So with that, I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday, and I will see you guys in a couple weeks. And if we have any other updates, we'll put them out. Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for coming.